Welcome to a journey through time, where we'll explore the remarkable story of America's forgotten apple heritage. Just a century ago, the United States was home to an astonishing 14,000 different varieties of apples, each with unique properties, flavors, and purposes. Today, we've lost 90% of that diversity, with just a handful of commercial varieties dominating our grocery stores. This video uncovers the rich tapestry of America's apple past, the reasons behind this dramatic decline, and the passionate apple detectives working to preserve what remains of this incredible botanical legacy. In the early 1900s, the American landscape was a paradise of apple diversity, with 14,000 distinct varieties growing across orchards and homesteads nationwide. Today, this number has plummeted, with just 5 varieties, Red Delicious, Gala, Honeycrisp, Granny Smith, and Fuji, dominating commercial production. This represents a staggering 90% reduction in apple diversity within a single century. The transformation wasn't simply driven by changing tastes. As agriculture industrialized, commercial interests prioritized varieties that could withstand shipping, offer extended shelf life, and display uniformly in stores. Many heritage apples, despite having superior flavors or unique culinary properties, were abandoned because they bruised easily, ripened unevenly, or didn't store well. This shift fundamentally changed our relationship with this iconic fruit, moving from diversity to standardization in just a few generations. What many don't realize is that most historical apple varieties weren't cultivated primarily for fresh eating at all. These forgotten apples served specific purposes that have largely vanished from our modern food culture. Take the Harrison apple of New Jersey. It produced a cider so exceptional that orchards stretched for miles, creating a beverage that commanded prices comparable to imported European wines. The Roxbury Russet wasn't prized for its immediate flavor but for its remarkable ability to stay fresh for nearly a year without refrigeration, an invaluable trait in the pre-industrial era. Some varieties achieved almost mythical status for their culinary applications. The now extinct Taliaferro apple made pies so naturally flavorful that, according to a 19th-century pomologist, they needed no sugar nor spice to render it acceptable to the most fastidious palate. These specialized uses extended far beyond the simple categories we recognize today. The diversity of historical apples reflected their multifunctional role in early American life. Some varieties were valued for their environmental adaptability rather than taste alone. The Black Oxford could withstand Maine's brutal winters, while the Westfield Seek No Further was treasured for developing a distinctive nutty flavor after months in storage. Appearance wasn't always a priority either. The Knobbed Russet, described by one pomologist as resembling the victims of a horticultural plague due to its warty exterior, was highly valued for its complex flavor profile despite its unattractive appearance. Apples served medicinal purposes as well. The Sheepose apple was used to treat digestive ailments, while Brown's sweet juice was applied topically for skin conditions. The winter banana apple, with its subtle tropical aroma, found use as a natural perfume for clothing drawers before modern fragrances became available. Even the highly astringent crab varieties had their purpose. They were specifically grown for making vinegar, an essential preservative in pre-refrigeration kitchens. Early Americans developed a sophisticated system for ensuring fresh fruit availability throughout the year, long before modern refrigeration. Households carefully selected apple varieties that would ripen in succession from July through November, creating a continuous harvest season. But their planning didn't stop there. They also cultivated winter apples, varieties specifically bred to remain naturally preserved in cool cellars until spring arrived. This careful orchestration of different varieties ensured that fresh fruit was available nearly year-round without any modern storage technology. Each family's orchard was a carefully planned calendar of ripening fruit, with varieties chosen to fill specific seasonal niches. This approach to food production represented a deep understanding of natural preservation and seasonal eating that has largely disappeared from our modern food system. In recent decades, a remarkable network of self-described apple detectives has emerged, racing against time to rediscover and preserve America's lost apple heritage. Tom Brown, a retired engineer from North Carolina, exemplifies this passionate pursuit. He has personally rediscovered over 1,000 apple varieties once thought extinct through meticulous historical research, studying old nursery records, and literally knocking on doors in rural communities where ancient trees might still survive on abandoned homesteads. Similar work happens through the Lost Apple Project in the Pacific Northwest, which focuses on varieties that once thrived in Washington and Idaho. Their efforts led to the rediscovery of 10 varieties previously declared extinct in 2019 alone, including the Armota, a pale yellow apple first documented in 1893. Perhaps most colorful among these preservation pioneers is John Bunker of Maine, who creates hand-drawn wanted posters of lost apples that he distributes at county fairs and rural post offices. His unconventional approach has led to dozens of rediscoveries, including the Fletcher Sweet, found growing on an abandoned property just days before scheduled demolition. The work of apple hunters combines historical sleuthing with botanical expertise. They often rely on frustratingly incomplete historical documents. A county fair record might mention a prize-winning Johnson apple without any description, leaving researchers to determine which of dozens of similarly named varieties it might have been. Sometimes, the only available clues come from century-old nursery catalogues with tantalizingly brief descriptions like "good for sauce, keeps till March." These apple detectives must match these sparse details with found specimens, increasingly using DNA testing to confirm their discoveries. The work carries particular urgency because many of these trees are the last of their kind and approaching the end of their natural lifespans. Apple trees typically live 80 to 100 years, meaning many heritage trees planted in the early 20th century are failing. When a rare specimen is located, preservationists immediately take cuttings to graft onto new rootstock, ensuring the genetic lineage continues even if the original tree dies, a race against botanical extinction. Beyond mere preservation, these rediscovered varieties are finding new purposes in today's food economy. Small-scale cideries have begun producing heritage ciders using these complex, tannic apples, creating beverages that bear little resemblance to commercial sweet ciders and instead offer flavor profiles closer to fine wines. Innovative chefs have incorporated forgotten varieties into high-end cuisine, prizing their unique flavors unavailable in commercial fruits. Beyond their culinary value, these heritage orchards may prove invaluable as climate change presents new challenges for apple cultivation. The genetic traits that allowed certain varieties to thrive in specific microclimates or resist regional pests could become crucial for developing resilient modern cultivars. These ancient apples might hold the genetic keys to future food security, making their preservation not just a matter of historical interest but of practical importance for sustainable agriculture. Unlike many conservation efforts that require vast wilderness preserves, apple diversity can be maintained in surprisingly small spaces. A single acre can support over 100 varieties through high-density planting, or by grafting multiple varieties onto established trees. This space efficiency has democratized preservation efforts, allowing even suburban homeowners to participate through backyard orchards containing dozens of rare varieties in spaces no larger than a typical lawn. The Renaissance extends beyond just growing the apples. Heritage apple festivals now draw thousands of visitors annually to sample varieties their grandparents might have known but they've never tasted. Community-supported agriculture programs featuring heritage apples have waitlists years long, as consumers seek flavors beyond homogenized supermarket offerings. Schools have established heritage orchards as living classrooms, teaching students about biodiversity, agricultural history, and food systems through these once forgotten fruits. This grassroots movement demonstrates how agricultural heritage can be preserved through distributed efforts rather than centralized conservation. The story of America's vanished apple empire transcends agriculture. It's about reconnection with our heritage, regional identity, and the astonishing diversity nature offers beyond standardized commercial products. Each rediscovered variety represents not just a unique fruit but a piece of American cultural history. These apples embody the ingenuity of farmers who developed specialized crops for specific needs, the regional food traditions that evolved around them, and the intimate knowledge of local environments that allowed such diversity to flourish. As modern consumers increasingly seek authenticity and connection to their food sources, these heritage apples offer something beyond novelty. They provide a literal taste of America's past. While we may never return to the era of 14,000 varieties dominating the landscape, the work of preservationists ensures this rich pomological heritage isn't lost forever. These apples connect us to our agricultural roots and point toward a more diverse and resilient food future. Beyond their historical and culinary value, heritage apple varieties represent an irreplaceable genetic treasury. Modern commercial apple breeding has created varieties optimized for yield, appearance, and shipping, but often at the cost of genetic diversity. Heritage apples contain genetic traits developed over centuries of natural selection and careful breeding that could prove essential for future challenges. Disease resistance, drought tolerance, cold hardiness, and unique nutritional profiles are just some of the valuable characteristics preserved in these forgotten varieties. Agricultural scientists are increasingly turning to heritage collections to find solutions for emerging threats to apple production. For instance, when fire blight began devastating modern orchards, researchers discovered natural resistance in several heritage varieties. Similarly, as growing regions shift due to climate change, the adaptability found in regional heritage varieties offers valuable genetic resources. These ancient trees, once dismissed as obsolete, may hold the keys to ensuring apples remain viable crops in changing conditions, demonstrating how preservation of agricultural biodiversity serves both cultural and practical purposes. America's apple story reflects our broader relationship with food and agriculture, from the incredible diversity that once defined our landscape to the standardization that came with industrialization, and now the renewed appreciation for what was nearly lost. The 14,000 apple varieties that once grew across America represented not just different flavors, but different solutions to human needs: storage without refrigeration, medicine without pharmacies, and resilience without modern technology. As we face new challenges from climate change to food security, these heritage apples offer both practical genetic resources and a philosophical reminder about the value of diversity over uniformity. The passionate apple detectives racing to save these varieties before the last trees die are preserving more than fruit. They're safeguarding agricultural adaptability, regional food traditions, and a direct connection to our ancestors' innovation. While supermarket shelves may continue to feature just a handful of commercial varieties, the grassroots movement to restore America's apple diversity demonstrates how ordinary people can participate in preserving our botanical heritage. Each rediscovered variety, each backyard orchard, and each heritage cider represents a small victory against the tide of standardization, a living taste of America's remarkable pomological past and a seed of hope for a more diverse agricultural future. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for updates. Your feedback is appreciated.